is RTA. Now, Dubai's RTA roadmap to net zero emissions transport by 2050. So, Dubai's Road and Transport Authority (RTA) has set an ambitious goal to achieve net zero emissions in its public transport system by 2050. The plan involves converting all taxis, limousines, and public buses into electric or hydrogen vehicles. In addition to transforming its transportation fleet, the RTA aims to minimize its carbon footprint in buildings and waste management facilities. So over the years, RTA will focus on decarbonizing taxis, limousines, and public buses, designing energy-efficient buildings, utilizing renewable energy sources, and implementing effective waste management practices.
How many cities are putting this type of strategy in place?
100%.
It's so impressive. And by implementing this strategy, the RTA expects to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 10 million tons and save 3.3 billion dirhams. So not only is it a sustainable strategy, it's also a budget-saving strategy. Matar Altair, the Director General of the RTA, he emphasized the comprehensive approach to sustainability within the organization and its commitment to becoming a global leader in smooth and sustainable mobility, which of course will be highlighted, I'm sure, in COP28 when it comes to the UAE next year. The strategy outlines specific targets for the conversion of vehicles in the public transport system. So by 2030, 10% of public buses will be electric or hydrogen powered, and that will increase to 20% by 2035, and ultimately transitioning the entire fleet by 2050. The plan also includes converting 30% of taxis and limousines by 2030, and then reaching 50% by 2035 and achieving 100% by 2040.
Exactly. Now, school buses will also undergo a significant transformation with a goal of converting 10% to electric or hydrogen buses by 2030, increasing to 30% by 2035, and ultimately achieving 100% by 2050.
The RTA is committed to retrofitting its buildings with solar cell systems by 2025. 24 structures will have solar panels installed, and the goal is to retrofit and upgrade 74% of the buildings by 2030, ultimately reaching 100% by 2045. Additionally, all new buildings will be designed with near zero energy consumption starting in 2025.
And the RT recognizes the importance of waste management and plans to implement programs to reuse and recycle 100% of municipal waste by 2030. Moreover, the organization aims to increase the use of recycled water in its buildings and facilities to 40% by 2050.
This is just such an amazing step and initiative, and the new strategy aligned with the UAE's preparations for COP28 and the UAE Net Zero by 2050 strategic initiative. It showcases the country's commitment to combating climate change and also, by the way, cleaner air. We talk about like smoggy cities when there's so much traffic. This will mean the air in our city will be cleaner, safer for you and me.
Exactly.
The RTA's previous efforts, such as the plan to make its entire taxi fleet eco-friendly by 2027, demonstrates the organization's dedication to sustainable practices. Dubai is making sustainable strides towards becoming a leader in clean and renewable energy sources. The UAE's Net Zero 2050 strategic initiative, unveiled in 2021, includes a substantial investment of 600 billion dirham over the next 3 decades. 600 billion dirham over the next 3 decades. Phenomenal. The UAE is the first Gulf country to commit to achieving net zero emissions by 2050.
These are big strides that are being taken by the UAE, being taken by RTA, and it's all in line to like mitigate Net Zero 2050 charter and reinforcing their commitment to mitigating effects of climate change on biodiversity, the environment, biosecurity, and public health. And the charter emphasizes the development of action plans, policies, and strategies for climate action, along with monitoring greenhouse gas emissions and identifying their sources in each emirate. And we know this is all in line with the UAE's move to go completely sustainable. And the RTA is just rolling out one initiative after the other to make sure that they are in line with this.
It's amazing because we always talk about how will the world actually achieve those sustainability targets.
Exactly.
Is it recycling on a ground level? And the answer is usually yes, okay, that will help, but the big players need to make big moves. Now, when the RTA, which is the road and transport system for the city, which obviously will have big emissions, when they make these strategic moves for the next 3 decades, putting in 600 billion, so impressive. And that is going to make a big difference in climate change. And not just the cars on the streets, the buildings that they're making, solar panels, all of these initiatives will have such a great effect on the overall CO2 emissions of the city. So big move by the RTA and great to see it.
Very true. And it is literally amazing to be living in a country and a city with government entities just walking the walk and not just talking the talk, because we see all of these, like COP28, we see these gatherings and meetings and people just coming together and having these conversations, but nothing ever gets put into place until much, much, much later, or until there's a push, or the public gets out and they really do, cry for it and plead for, a change and implement something. But here the public doesn't need to say anything. It's like the government know exactly what their objectives and aims are, and everything is in place to roll it out.
I think that's really interesting, because what can happen with these kind of COP events is that when they happen, there are big statements made at the events.
Yeah.
And then you look back and, okay, what was actually achieved? So in this case, what I think is amazing is because it's being held here in the UAE, it's going to inspire action before the event actually takes place. I think that we are really, as a country, going to look at sustainability and what can we do better, because obviously the UAE, there's been so much change in 6 or 7 decades. There's a lot that we can do better, but I think that this hosting COP28 is going to inspire a lot of better action, which I think is really important as well.
Very true. Yeah.